Hello and welcome everyone to the What Turns You On podcast. Today I am here with Meg Williams, High Priestess,
Hello.
Creatrix, Goddess Extraordinaire. She is I know that I'm supposed to have a bio on her, but let me just tell you what I know of her from my heart. This woman, who is actually my mentor at this time in this beautiful realm of pleasure, is teaching me how to steep more and push my edges in ways that I didn't even know were options, and to be pushed and to live in a space of such radical turn on. Like, that's the only word I can use, is radical erotic turn on, and being so in my body and feeling all the goodness that is there with that. It is such an honor. I'm so excited to hear her story today, and I know you guys will be too once you hear it as it unfolds. So, Goddess Meg, thank you for being here. I'm just like over the moon excited for what is meant to come through.
Me too. Thank you.
Mm,
I'm just so happy to be here with you, Kaelen.
thank you. So we're just going to dive in. I want you just to, whatever's coming up for the first thing that feels like you want to share. What is, literally, I'm going to ask, what is Pussy asking you to share first?
Oh, um, I think the thing, so in preparation and thinking about coming into the space and just the name of your space and that we are here to talk about turn on. Um, like the title, if like we could title my turn on, it is about um following the discomfort. Like my turn on is in the discomfort. And there's like a huge part of me that wants to like kick myself because it's like that's so uncomfortable and unpleasant so many times. Um,
Legit.
but there's a process, like it makes us reach for turn on, and it's through the discomfort that we find, like my turn on is finding the comfort and discomfort.
Say that
And
again.
pardon?
Say that again.
My turn on is in finding comfort in the discomfort.
That's a lot. That's a lot to unpack right there. What
Yeah.
led you to this? What led you to this knowing of finding comfort in the discomfort and your turn on, seeking your turn on and being comfortable in the discomfort?
Yeah. Well, and it's something that actually was quite recent for me. I think I really probably only discovered that this is the thing that really drives me uh consciously within the last 6 months. It was while I was doing PLM with Regina. And
Remind
that
everyone
was
what PLM is.
Oh yes, Pussy Leadership Mastermind
Thank
with
you.
Regina Power from the New York School of Womanly Arts. And it's a high level mastermind. And I went in knowing that I think I had two goals. And the one goal was I wanted to stretch my relationship with my husband, which
Mm.
meant I wanted to have the conversation and outcome with my husband of potentially opening our relationship. So the conversations that would take us there. And I also wanted to expand my business.
Mm.
And what I led with, well, what Pussy told me was that I had to follow the discomfort if I was going to achieve those things. Like, when we don't, when we're kind of like, just like, goddess, like, tell me what next. Like, I don't, when we're in that place of like up leveling. And so we're saying, take me somewhere I haven't been before. And so then we're sitting there kind of like, I don't know what to do.
You're giving me goosebumps because this is where I am at, even as we speak, this now present moment. Boom.
And so and for me, the guiding question is, um, show me where in my life is there the most discomfort? And that is the place to go to.
I just have to
The
write this down because to me this is just so juicy. Mm,
yeah. That's like as much as I would say that turn on and pussy is like the GPS system that we follow. But for me, it's discomfort. And because I think that um, the reason I love working with pleasure is because actually, you're gonna laugh at this. So I've always said in my containers and to my clients, okay, well, what is the thing that we're most scared of? Like, if I could tell someone to do something right now that would be the most terrifying, it'd be like strip down and put your pussy on camera, right? Like that would be the thing that anyone would be like, there's absolutely no way. No, that sounds terrifying. Why would I do that? That's the most outrageous thing. But that's the scariest thing. So if we can conquer the scariest thing, then we can conquer anything.
yes.
So that's sort of been like, let's go play in the area that is associated to the scariest thing, pussy, and pleasure is associated directly with pussy. So if we go to the place and explore that, then we are constantly allowing ourselves to step past um, the edge, the boundary that is limiting us. And so discomfort is that same edge. Like the discomfort is the thing that's literally our edge, where I don't want to go. So if
Mhm.
we push ourselves outside of that comfort zone and take the step into the thing that's uncomfortable, then we're declaring to the universe, I am willing, I'm willing to play here. If I can do this, I can do anything.
Yeah.
And then there's like the desire and the rapture that comes on the other side of doing the thing that we thought we couldn't ever dare do.
Hmm. It's you just literally described because you saw me when I started this program three and a half months ago.
I don't even
you know, and I was terrified. And then when Mama Gina, invited me, no, told me she didn't invite me. She totally domed me, and she's like, "You're gonna do a striptease." I'm like, "Oh."
right?
And even though I didn't take everything off, obviously, but it pushed me in a way that I certainly did not want to go,
Yeah,
but it was what I needed.
right.
I needed to pull back and break through my own mindset, my
Yeah.
own fears.
Yeah.
So, my next question for you is because this is so powerful. First off, tell us what your business is before you started with the Pleasure Leadership Mastermind, and then what it's evolved to. And let's go to that point.
Okay. Well, you're going to love this because um part of my favorite part of the story is that I'm an elementary school teacher turned pleasure coach. Right? Like it's like I went from teaching children ABCs to teaching women how to like receive pleasure from every stroke. It's such a contrast. But so perfect.
So perfect.
And then I felt that my soul was really getting crushed working in that system. I mean, I absolutely loved the role. I loved working with the children, but inside of that system, there was my soul was like wanting that stretch for more. And I just knew um, that I was never going to get it there. So I stepped out of which was bold and terrifying, right? Because who would dare, why would you leave a job that had benefits, dental benefits, health benefits, pension, all of this? It just, everyone was like, you are crazy. But I think we have to be a little bit crazy when we are following our soul's purpose. And as crazy as it felt so right. And then I thought what I was going to do was as I transitioned to taking my business online, I also opened, we moved to a very rural town, which I live in right now still. And I was a yoga and meditation and teacher. And so I thought, well, if we're living way out in the woods, there's nothing here. Let's open a yoga studio. So I thought when I went online with my business, I was going to be yoga and meditation online.
Okay.
And which is, and I love I think every piece of the story. And I hope that this resonates with people because often, sometimes, when we are following this path, we think we're set out to do one thing. And the joy of letting it unfold and just letting yourself become more of what you're meant to become. And so, in the transition of taking my yoga and meditation online, I did have rupture. Um, Actually, what got me
Define
out of
what rupture is for us. So our listeners
right.
make sure that they understand.
Yeah, so rupture is when we might have a life experiences or circumstances that come into our world that um, are trying, trying, difficult emotionally, physically. And I did have a lot of these ruptures. The first one that what actually got me out of, then I also see how it was part of the goddess leading me.
Yeah.
That got me out of the classroom was miscarriage. So I had a really devastating miscarriage. We had tried for like 4 years and actually didn't think that we were going to be able to have more children. And then when with that miscarriage, I thought that was it. Like I thought that was the one chance. There's no way, it's been 4 years, it's not going to happen. Um, and but that got me out of the goddess moved through me to speak with the doctor who gave me the doctor's note to step out of work. And it was in that time where it was like, I am diving deep into my yin yoga practice. And it's time to go into deep self-care. And
Mm-hmm.
while I was in that journey, and actually, miracle was I ended up getting pregnant right away in the time span that the doctors had said, don't even try because you need to heal and recover. But I think that soul, my baby, she just wanted to come straight back to mama.
Yeah.
Um, and that was my transition out of the classroom. And then um, as I was focusing on my yoga and meditation, and I started working with my first a spiritual business coach, which felt really badass because it felt taboo, because who hires a spiritual business coach?
Uh,
And
us.
yes, we do.
Yes.
And those who are listening.
Yes.
And um, with her, my meditation practice got really deep. Like I was starting to like astral travel and um, like was working with spirit guides, like hit that phase of my journey. And then I had another rupture with a man that I thought was going to be my business manager. And it triggered the rupture was just around safety with men. And it really spun me out. And it actually brought up, I brag, I brag now. I wasn't bragging at the time, but I brag that I had one of the most profound sexual experiences that I had was a foursome. And after me and the three others that were part of it, we never spoke of it again. I
Mhm.
never told another soul. It was just this absolutely divine, beautiful experience that I carried both the belief of, wow, that was so beautiful and divine. And also, you shall never speak of this again because it is so forbidden and taboo. And so I never told anyone. Um, so as you can say, I also had quite a liberal sexual past, which I didn't carry a whole lot of shame around, but again, we just didn't talk about it. And so at this point, I was a wife, with children, and my husband didn't know any of this about me. So in this rupture, what came up was you have to tell my husband's name is Ian. You have to tell Ian about this foursome. And like, I just need him to know about my sexual past.
Yeah.
Um, and I thought if I tell him, he's never gonna be able to see the same. He's not gonna be able to see you as like his wife and the mother of his children. This is going to blow up your marriage. That was what I believed.
Hmm.
And I remember going down to talk to him, and he was so, I think I was crying before I could even say anything. And then he said to me, I love him, but I mean, he hasn't always had glowing moments like this, but this was a glowing moment. And he was like, did you ever think that maybe you were the only one who's judging yourself so harshly? And it was just like pure relief. I was like, oh my God, he's held space for me. I have been seen. I am free. I am liberated. Like it was just, when you think that there's going to be a worst case scenario and then it's actually glorious.
Yeah.
And then he looked at me and he goes, you need to do some work with someone. Like there's healing that you need to do around this. And I was like,
Okay. First off, that's gorgeous. That is
right?
such a turn on right there to have a man say that. What? Like,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
what every woman dreams of that's on a healing journey.
That's the like I know, massive. Like gates were opened,
Hmm.
clearly in this moment, gates were opened. And and then my spiritual business coach, um, she passed on, recommended it was just like one of those, it was a small online course that you could just go at your own pace called Sacred Sexuality. And as I was doing, so this is the part that gets super juicy. As I was going through the embodiment practices in this virtual program,
Yeah.
and at the same time, I was also reading Mary Magdalene Revealed by Megan Watterson,
Okay.
which is
Goosebumps.
so
Just,
profound. And as I would do the embodiment practices, I would get these full downloads. I was transported into these rooms in Egyptian temples where I was seeing women, men and women going through these sacred sexual practices. And they were detailed. And I would just do what I would do after any meditation. And I opened my book and I would write down every single detail.
yes.
And by the end, not by the end, because there have been more since, but at this time, I think I had like six. And I remember looking and I was like, this is so weird. Like these are really clear practices. Like these are rituals. And I remember I can I'm it like I remember it so clearly, like in my body right now, I'm in the center of my kitchen, with the journal in my hands, looking at my husband and saying, like, why do I have all of these? It just seemed so weird to have all of this here. And as
Mhm.
I asked this question, I hear Mary Magdalene's voice in my ears, and she said, I need you to teach these.
Yes. Yes.
And I looked up at my husband and repeated these words. And I said, oh my God, I think I'm supposed to teach this. And again, glowing moment. His
Mhm.
response was, well, you can only try. Which I thought, this is true. It's like as we do anything, we put it out there and just try.
Yeah.
And the second knowing that I also had in that is that when we don't listen to our spirit guides is when we go off track. So I created this program that at the time I called Worthy. It is now called the Rose Codes, and it's one of my signature programs.
Mm.
Um, and I put it out there, and like 11 women signed up, and that was just the sign. And that is literally how I went from elementary school teacher, yoga meditation teacher to pleasure coach 5 years
You
ago.
see all of the dots connected. Every single one of those are completely connected. From your sexual past all of it. The thread is, it's a golden thread. It's connected all the way through. And I just keep seeing this golden thread get bigger to be like, a rope and then a chain and then like, it's just big.
Yeah.
That's what I
But
so
go ahead.
now that you came to this realm, how did you come upon Mama Gina's work?
Yeah. Also part of the thread, 100%. Uh, because so that was the beginning. So that program was in 2020
Yeah.
and taught it for, I guess, 3 years. And um, so the other thing too is like as I had these visions, it was like there was this part of me that was like, oh, I have done this. But the version of me that was seeing them was also, in the physical at the time was like, this is gonna be a long time before I like, there was no concept of, I didn't know anyone at the time who would ever be willing to be in a room doing these practices, right? That felt a very far ways away still.
Yeah.
Um, so I was just teaching what I did. And my programs at that time, what it looked like was really like transmissions. It was like, here's the transmission that I had.
Yes.
Um, here's the practice. It was like explaining a lot of more spiritual, and I still think heady, like meditation is really so out of body, but I still like our connection to the spiritual realm is to me through the head.
Hmm.
Um, although I would also say it's a little bit through the pussy now.
Yes. Yes.
But I
Yes,
think
for sure.
that it's when we connect the two that allows that. But so it was more heady. It was like talking about the energetics, and then it was sharing the practice. And then it was like, okay, this is our play work this week is go home, do this practice, and then let's come back and talk about what we experienced.
Yes.
So for me, I hit this point of, as we do with, I really wanted, I thought there's more I want to be doing with my community. Like I want us to be doing the practices together on the calls. I want, like there was just the want for more. And I hadn't had that experience myself yet. And I think also in between that stretch, I had the spiritual business coach, and then I went into like a holistic business school program, and that coach was also still very spiritual. And even in those containers, it was like great. And I'm excited to be working with others who are here to expand their businesses, here to expand their spirituality. But I still felt very alone. Like I'm like there's things that I wanted to talk about. Like as a pleasure coach, there's a lot of just as with, there's even more resistance and things that we butt up against that make it even more difficult to
Yes.
leap forward in the world. And so I wanted the sisterhood. I wanted the colleagues who I could talk to about like pleasure coaching specific things. I wanted a mentor who would hold space for me to, like, I wanted someone to hold space for me to have these
Yeah.
experiences I wanted to give to women. So I
Hmm.
knew like there was more that I needed. And I remember finishing with one coach and I had like a checklist of things. Like it was like I knew I wanted the next coach to be someone who worked in the field of pleasure work. I wanted it to be someone who'd already built her empire. It'd be someone who knows what it's like building a pleasure business. I wanted women who were also building pleasure-led businesses.
Yeah.
So it was just so crazy. I remember when the pleasure coaching certification came out, and I was like, wow, she just took my checklist and just put it right there. Like, how did this woman do this? This is
But how
crazy.
did you find her? Like, how did she come to you and you to her?
Well, the goddess.
Yes.
Because again, in that period where I was really in the spirit, like I think I read Mary Magdalene Revealed, and then, a bunch of other goddess um like books, like there was like Isis activations and all of this. And so pussy just,
Yeah.
it was like literally the goddess sent her to me. It was, I think in Kindle, it was like Kindle recommends Pussy, the Reclamation by Regina Thomas Howard. And it was like, of course I'm going to read that.
How
Um,
would you?
yeah. And I mean, and then just every sentence in that was just in pure alignment.
Mhm.
So it was from a book. And, I was just following her online. And I think that I, had excitedly signed up for her email list and then saw leisure coaching certification come through and then this list. And it was like, again, kind of one of those things where when you get knocked, there's things that you could see as synchronicity. But then there's things that you are like, this is deeper than synchronicity. Because like, Kaelen, it was literally my checklist. Like,
So here's what's so powerful for the beautiful goddesses that I have interviewed thus far, and those that I've talked with offline that are here in this space.
yeah,
Every single one, you can't make this up.
you cannot.
We have been pinpointed by the goddess to have this book be placed in our hands and read it and go, oh my gosh. For me, the first three chapters I bawled throughout
Yeah,
because I knew that it was like Mama Jean was just yelling at me, right?
yeah,
Spirits yelling at me, pussies yelling at me. It's like, wake the fuck up.
yeah.
You got stuff to do. And you sitting here is not going to do it. Feeling
Yes,
sorry
yes,
for you ain't going to do it.
yeah,
Right?
yeah.
Oh, I stand in amazement as to how I see, and this is why this podcast exists. I feel this obligation to be the curator of the stories of these women, these goddesses in this program, current and past, to bring them and have a place where they can
Oh,
share how they came to this work,
love it.
because that's what turns them on. And as we do so, we put that out into the world. Like, this
Yeah,
is not mistaken. This
no.
is so divinely guided and led and purposeful and intentional. I just have no words. And so to hear you say this, like, I've been so excited ever since you said yes. I'm like, I'm so excited to hear her story. Oh, because that's the common thread. The journeys may be different, but that thread of bringing Mama Gina's work, pussy work into us and these tools, I like, I'm speechless, and that's rare,
Yeah, yeah.
right? What's bubbling up for you more? Because this is just like so gorgeous, so gorgeous.
Well, it's just, and I think it's just landing. Like my brain is actually like, I'm just imagining all you who are now listening to this.
Yes,
And because there is this thread
yes,
and, um, and everyone does have their story. And it's just this like, oh yeah, how it gets to a point where, and I do think it's funny because it's like we do have those moments where we're like, but I must be crazy. This is crazy. Like this, like this Archangel Michael came to visit me, or like Mary and I sat around the fire last night. Like people are gonna be like, what? But it's real.
I'm gonna go what? Because you know what's gonna happen? They're gonna go, oh yeah, that fits. That works for me because I feel something with that.
Yeah.
I feel, and it may not be in this lifetime, it may be in another lifetime or lifetimes, but there's that connection,
Yes.
right? And I mean, girl, I'm a recovering Mormon, and you, like, ooh, and
Yeah.
but you know what? We believe in angels. I mean, I should say that faith
You
believes in
real.
angels, that's how things happen. And so for me, it's like, well, why wouldn't anybody receive these downloads? That's their purpose and their mission and their ministry, literally their ministry, their sacred sexuality ministry on this planet in the
Yeah.
realms that they're in.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
what you said also, I feel like it's like this lifetime.
yes.
And I think what also lands for so many of us, just as you were talking about, you've already spoken to so many goddesses here and outside of this space. And this profound knowing too of we've done this so many lifetimes. And like what we get to step into this body right now in this lifetime. Um, and what also keeps bubbling up is just like this, like the conversation we can have around the more, because that's the other thing with pleasure, right? Is to me, pleasure is the tool I love to work with because it is an expander. So when we work with pleasure, it will attract. It's how we attract more, but it's also like how we work with this vessel to be able to hold more. And that has been such an experience. It makes me think of in our opening um, retreat with Regina, which was in her Brooklyn apartment in New York for the Pussy Leadership Mastermind. And because this is what happens too, is like we take the things and we're like, okay, I saw this, but then like when we actually get to bring it into the real. And so one of the um rituals that I had seen in my mind. And I love too how we can say sacred sexual. And I'm like, we're just talking about sacred pleasure rituals. But in this particular one, there was a circle of men. There were like five men who were really holding the sacred masculine energy. And it was a room where the priestesses would dance. It was kind of like, the sacred Devadasis and these beautiful priestesses. And um, it was clearly their temple space. And so, like, the patrons were these men. These men came in, and there was only five or six of them, but they were standing as pillars around the space that the priestesses were dancing in. And there was also this, I have the goosebumps
I
feeling.
do too.
Um, but part of their role was that they were only there to worship the one priestess that they were there to worship. So they were not allowed to look at the other dancers, although they were still holding space collectively for all the dancers. They could feel, I mean, I think unmistakably, how could you not feel the presence of the others? But their role was to give their full devotion to the one priestess. So they were to keep eye contact with this one. And this was so profound. And I remember having, like, as we do, you conversations with just, in the real world. And I was telling my husband about this. And it was like, he's so funny. I love him. He, but he was like, because I was saying I'd love to do this ritual. And he was like, well, but I think that's crazy to just, request that, like, how would you not? You wouldn't keep your eyes on just one. And I was trying to like explain, I'm like, no, but that's part of the essence. That's like the part of the devotion of the practice. And so anyways, that was this ritual that I had. Um, at Regina's retreat, we ended up doing a ritual very similar. There weren't men, but
Mhm.
as women, it was literally this. It was a, a circle of women holding space for the women dancing, and you were only allowed to make eye contact with the sister that you were paired with. And it was just like, again, like what we were just saying, how this is beyond coincidence.
Yeah.
Like this is the power of this work. Like I really think that it does take us out of just this dimension. Um, like it's just too uncanny to have had this one transmission and then to be like in the physical, like with the explicit instructions. This is how we get to be women, turned on women, because I don't think we do get these full transmissions if we are not the turned on woman. Uh,
Yes.
I think that that's literally what opens our channel. But as the turned on women, it's how we get to open our hearts, open our pussies, and say to the goddess, like, use me. I
Mhm.
am the vessel. Like, use me, move through
Mhm.
me. And it's how we get to bring, I always think this like of Mary Magdalene, or Isis or Aphrodite. These were women who were so devoted to this practice that millennia ago, just like we are today, in their body, they made a promise to
Mhm.
do whatever they can to to bring this wisdom through to the world. And now, as women in the physical today, we get to make that devotion ourselves. And it's like how we get to continue this, because then we get to channel the voice of those women historically. It's how we get to bring the goddess through into today. Like, it's what a gift.
First off, this transmission is open.
Yeah.
I feel this energy, I feel like we're in this literally a tube of light.
Ugh,
And I feel this energy going up so profound.
yeah.
And when you said that this is so familiar because we've done this in lifetimes before, head to body, head to toe, full on chills.
Yeah.
That affirmation of yes, yes, yes. And as I'm sitting here with you, this sacred space, this sacred container that that you have shared with us, that you have brought in, but yet together we have co-created, not just together you and I, but with the divine, with spirit, with the great pussy in the sky, right? Like it transcends everything in this 3D realm.
Yeah.
We are in
Yes.
this space of putting light. And like right now, like I feel like I'm high. Remember when we were in our call yesterday? I was like, oh my gosh, I feel so high. I feel like it's the same way, and like I kind of want to go back into hip circles because I kind of have to because it just oh,
Yeah.
this work is so sacred. This work is so pure. This work is so powerful. And I'm going to come back to where we started in the very beginning, and I want to make sure I get this right. Following the discomfort. Following the discomfort, because
Mm.
there is turn on when we have to go through the discomfort, because that is where we find our comfort in being able to move through it, not avoiding it, but going right through the center of it and seeing that in doing so, everything is connected.
Yeah.
And we get to surrender and
Yeah.
say, use me,
Yeah.
use me. If I'm called to this, use me. I give you my everything. I surrender. That is powerful.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you. Any last words you want to share with those that are going to be viewing? Anything that just is last parts of what turns you on?
I just want to speak to like what, like, I love that you just, as you were putting words to that, I'm thinking it's so crazy. It's so big. It's wild to, like, you put words to it, but it's so much bigger than us. And I just want to speak to that to everyone who's listening is, it is so much bigger than us. And it's not an easy road. It what we are declaring to surrender to, when we are just, when we are declaring, I give you everything, like the goddess, the multifaceted fractals that is woman, it's like when we say everything. And I just, bow to each of the women who do open their hearts to that promise, because I see you, and this path is not for everyone. It is not. There's a lot of women who will, get a few steps down and go, not made for this. So if you're listening and you are just a full, I'm here for it. I bow at your feet and I honor you. I see what you are saying yes to. I see what you are committing to, that it is a lifelong journey, lifetimes long journey. And, thank you.
Lifetimes. That's the
Lifetimes.
takeaway. That is the takeaway.
Yeah.
If you're watching this, well, I should say for those of you who are watching this, just take this is your call.
Yeah.
This is for you to step into the truth of who you are and be led by literally what turns you on. It's been a pleasure, Goddess Meg, having you here. Thank you so very much for sharing your heart, your love, your light, your transmissions, your downloads, your pussy. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for creating the space, Kaelen, and bringing your light and the light of so many others into the world.
Thank you. Until next time, I appreciate you all being here, and I'm asking you, what turns you on? Follow it, even in the discomfort, especially in the discomfort. Thank you.